go.
Where'd that
We go.
Where's my
Fuck that.
Where's my friend at? Come on, come on. They running! Oh, they running! Quay running! Quay running! That's Quay running! Quay running! No bullshit!
I'm trying to watch the kids, bro. Look at your baby folks,
Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakadash, double honors to the apostles and bishops and the elders of Great Millstone, peace and blessings to the whole free elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom and Shalom. All right, I got a couple of things I want to talk about, but I'm going to start with this first one here because I really don't have any particular scriptures for it. Besides what it says in Revelation 12:12, the devils are going to come down unto you having great wrath, only you have a short amount of time. And, in the clip, this first clip here, you got, because basically, the reason why I quote that scripture is because first and foremost, Esau wants to put blame on the ministry. All right, that's the first thing first. All right, but then you also have the Israelites being the sworn enemy, right? So he's going to come down, on YouTube Thursday as well. And you got madness like teen takeovers. Y'all remember those things happening? You got madness like Bike Week, people going over, basically see YNs and YKs, all right? Young ends and harlots, okay? Just doing whatever, wilding out, tearing up people's property, teen takeovers, bike fest and different kinds of events, and like you have here, all right, you have state fair, all right, a state fair, and what you see, all right, a bunch of YNs and harlots, all right, out there brawling, okay, making a scene, tearing up, all right, in a place where it's supposed to be meant, for, which is all folly, but, to just, for people to have fun and enjoy themselves or whatever, you see the same event happening when you see a bunch of these YNs and all these get together, all right? Madness, okay? Destructive behavior. And what it's doing is giving Esau more and more, as more of these events take place, more fuel for his fire, more reason to say, hey, all right? Because he's going to do two things with his energy. He's going to bring in the sword against them, or he's going to take some of that energy, all right, and put them to use by sending them to war. You got all this energy to fight. Well, let's put a gun in your hand and make you go fight for Babylon. All right, we know what the scriptures say about that. All right, they're not going to come home from that war. So he's going to do one or two things with that energy. All right, he's going to send them to fight, or he's going to send them to their death. Okay, because this is basically more when events like this keep happening. It's just more and more evidence on why which he's going to justify by using that against them. All right, but to make the point of why he needs to come down and crack down on this, crack down on that, and so on and so forth, because they're giving them all the evidence that he needs, which, as if it isn't bad enough, like going into Deuteronomy 28, the curses, man. All right, that we will be, a byword, a proverb, and astonishment to the nations. We're giving them, and Salak, if you hear a bell ringing, I'm not sure if you can hear it or not. Some way our people act, they give them, okay, enough evidence on why they keep pushing the stereotypes and things of that nature on us, and why the nations view us in that way. And this is more of that evidence. And he's piling these things up, all right, for rhyme and reason. Okay, but that's pretty much it on that first clip there. We'll talk about some other things.
Chinese robotics firm Unitree has unveiled a new high-speed humanoid robot, and this is just days before the company is set to make its stock market debut in Shanghai. Unitree has raised about $905 million in its IPO, with retail investor demand surging to record levels. It has dubbed its new robot Superman, that's what it's calling it, and says that it developed the machine in just over 3 months. The robot can jump 2 meters from a standing position and has even reached a top speed of 12.66 meters per second. The robot's unveiling comes as Unitree prepares to start trading on Shanghai's star market on Wednesday, making it the first general-purpose robotics company to list on mainland China's stock market. Its IPO was more than 8,000 times oversubscribed by retail investors, a record for Shanghai's tech-focused star market. Unitree says that it had produced and delivered about 18,000 bipedal humanoids. Across multiple models, as of July, its robots have attracted global attention for running, dancing, and even performing martial arts. Those visuals have gone viral time and again. The company says that the new Superman robot is still a work in progress and could be improved further in the coming months. Unitree is also backed by major Chinese technology companies, including Tencent, Alibaba, and DeepSeek. The company's stock market debut also coincides with the opening of the World Robot Conference in Beijing, putting fresh investor attention on one of China's fastest-growing robotics firms.
In the race to mass-produce robot dogs, China is beating the United States. Philadelphia-based Ghost Robotics developed its Vision 60 robots from Army-funded academic research in quadruped movement. The company wasn't alone. China's Unitree Robotics, among the world's biggest producers of humanoid and canine robots, based designs for its most successful four-legged machines on the same U.S. military-funded breakthroughs. Researchers involved in the projects told Reuters.
This is technology that at its core was developed at U.S. universities, funded by U.S. taxpayer dollars.
Gavin Keneally is the CEO of Ghost Robotics, which has supplied the U.S. military with its Vision 60s for surveillance and search operations.
There were papers published, and then these papers were very closely studied by Chinese companies like Unitree, and these principles were put to work and then scaled in an exceptional way using amazing manufacturing and supply chain technology, to where now you see companies like Unitree and other companies in China are shipping way more legged robots than American companies are.
Unitree did nothing underhanded in using the research, which was openly published to stimulate progress, a common practice. But it helped propel the company to global market dominance. And the company's imminent Shanghai stock market debut has drawn frenzied demand. Unitree did not respond to requests for comment. It is said in public statements that its products are intended for civilian use. And in 2022, the firm, alongside U.S. companies, pledged not to weaponize robots. But another company's robotic wolves were displayed at a military parade in Beijing last year. And Chinese state television has shown an armed version of a Unitree robot alongside Chinese troops. Publishing U.S.-funded research presents a broader issue for American firms competing with Chinese manufacturing, which has developed at lightning pace over the past decade in industries critical to national security, backed by subsidies and a tolerance for heavy losses. Here's Hugh Grant Chapman, a fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS.
I think the biggest factor in China's advantage for developing its robotics industry is its massive industrial base, its vast ecosystem of manufacturing, factories, and things that provide both kind of demand-side support for its robotics industry, as well as cheap access to all the components it needs to manufacture those. When I look at where the U.S. has fallen behind, I see that loss and hollowing out of the manufacturing sector as being a really big driver of why the kind of corresponding national security applications have fallen behind as well.
None of the robotics researchers who spoke with Reuters advocated for keeping the government-funded research they participated in secret. But the researchers argue U.S. policymakers should make it easier for companies to bring new technology to market to compete with China. Even then, the only way to escape China's chokehold on the robotics supply chain is to work with international partners, says Keneally.
There's no way we're going to do this completely on our own as the U.S. We need to work closely with our allies. In particular, at GHOST, we work very closely with companies in Korea and Taiwan and Japan, where they have some of this manufacturing and supply chain expertise. So there's absolutely no path forward without them.
So continuing on with the topic here, well, that was the miniature topic leading to the bigger topic. So as we just talked about, I just played the clip. All right, yeah, you got these YNs, these YKs, these little young harlots, these young Keishas, okay, out there creating havoc, okay, and well, let me just pull up the scripture here. In Isaiah 1. It says, "Hear, O heavens," in verse 2, "Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord Yahweh hath spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me." Talk about the Israelites. We are the ones who like it to his children, right? "The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib." Right? Even you have like a dog that'll get loose and go, it's happy to be free. It'll go all the way around, but when it's hungry and it's thirsty, it knows how to find its way back home. All right, and that's what it's saying. The same thing about these animals here. These animals know who their master is. Some human, all right. Who is this human? But it's my master, all right. But Israel doesn't know who their master is, because they think that they find their savior through, other, philosophies and religions, through Jesus, through Allah, and Buddha, or what, sorcery, whatever. All right. Any and everywhere else except for through the actual power, Yahweh himself, through Yahweh Shah. Okay. So it says, "The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doeth not know, my people doeth not consider." And you might every now and then have a Jake that'll come by, when the brothers, at camp, and they'll somewhat acknowledge what's going on, but are they actually gonna, take heed to the word? And then you have others that just walk by, they're mocking and scoffing, and then you have some that just, walk by and ignore, right? Those three of those main groups there, when you see individuals come by. All right. But it says, "Israel doeth not know, my people doeth not consider." So you have men all over the earth in different cities, right, preaching the gospel, and there's not going to be I didn't know, I didn't hear about this, that, and the third thing, all right, because the Lord set the prophets up. That's what the point of the prophets were for. Right, to give word to Israel, especially before the Lord is about to bring a judgment. And at this time, the Lord has brought back many, many prophets in the world to give word to Israel before he brings the judgment. All right. And this young generation, the youngest of the generation, right, they're not listening to anything or anyone. Okay. They're just, wilding out. All right. And so what has to come then? Judgment. Let's keep reading on. It says, "Sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters, they have forsaken the Lord Yahweh, they have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger, they are gone away backward." And that's what Jacob's trouble is about. Jeremiah 30:7. All right. Well, I usually start at verse 4. I read Jeremiah 30 verses 4 through 7. Okay. Jacob's trouble is about the correction of the house of Israel, and that heavy judgment is really going to fall upon the 2/3 of the nation of Israel, especially this young generation here. Because, like we were speaking on before, he's going to use that energy against them. A reason why, look at these animals, they need to be put down, they need to be put in their place. Or he's going to take some of that energy and put a gun in their hand, all right, boots on the ground, a helmet on their head, and say, "Hey, go fight for this country. You like fighting, you like shooting and stuff, all right, well, do it for this country." Okay? And then you have what we're going to transition here into, You got, Esau and the other, different nations and companies, all right, constantly building up on their robotic technology. You got robots that are running at, breakneck speeds. So imagine, that thing running after not you, who I believe, but, talking about the 2/3, all right, running after one of them, all right, like a RoboCop with speed, or a Terminator, okay, because it's going to be programmed to take you down, all right, you rebellious Israelites, okay, running after you. You might can run fast, but guess what? You can't run forever, okay? And this thing will probably, if they utilize robots, we didn't say if they're going to utilize robots or not, but they have the technology. So if they utilize it, it'll probably be equipped, knowing where you live at and everything. So you think you got more speed in this robot, all right? You don't have more lung capacity, so even if you get away from it and think this thing might know where you lives at, where you live at. But imagine this thing running after somebody, with the weapon in hand, with one primary objective: to take you down. And it might take you right back to the spiritual world, right where you stand at. Or it could take you in, to one of the camps, all right, where you end up being beheaded or fitted for the sea hip. Now, if there's an option there, what do you think these degenerates are going to do? Well, you mean go to jail? We get my head chopped off, da da da. All right, yeah, take the sea hip. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to take the tiny machine. All right, they're going to take the tiny machine, and that's going to end in death anyways, because there's no coming back from that. You've fully forsaken the Lord, which they weren't seeking the Lord in the first place. Now you're going to be destroyed, all right, in that fire. So it says, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters, they have forsaken the Lord Yahweh, they have provoked the Holy One of Israel into anger, they are going away backward. Why should ye be stricken anymore? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. And only healing ointment is this truth, man. But majority of our people are rejecting it. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. All right. So the Lord said, why should I stricken you anymore? You know what? I'm gonna give you away to all your pleasures of the world. All right, to all your degeneracy. I'm gonna give you up to these things. And in these times that we're living in, all right. I mean, because come on now, you don't see, you Southern Kingdom Israelites don't see already what's happened to the Northern Kingdom. You got Vanilla Ice, all right, going around doing this, doing that. There was a recent thing I was going to do about the Haitians, but Spirit wasn't on going in at the moment, so I deleted the couple clips that I had. But Haitians are just one aspect of it. But going back to dealing with the Northern Kingdom, they went so far as to oppress the Gadites, man. The so-called Native Americans that were here before you Edomites came over here, you conquistadors. Okay? So they're oppressing Gad, of all people, of the Northern Kingdom, and then the Northern Kingdom overall, where you think you Southern Kingdom Israelites are going to get away? And there's certain things that are happening to the Southern Kingdom, but it's not a persecution like in the form of like Vanilla Ice, you see? But it's coming. Now, they had their burst of, like, I think it was New York as well as Chicago. That was for a burst moment, okay? But it's not heavy on them like the Northern Kingdom. The Northern Kingdom is dealing with what they deal with, all right? And it's soon going to come to that Southern Kingdom. And as we just mentioned, going into those robots and things, all right? Well, damn, this person just rode over, like, I don't know how many curves. Pulling out the parking space and then turning the corner. Anyways, eventually the Southern Kingdom is going to get their wake-up call, all right? They're already actually having things happening to them, but they haven't woken up to what's really going on right now, okay? But they're going to be persecuted in the same manner, and it might even be worse, okay? So as I was saying, these robots here, there's a reason why Esau is trying to create, robot. I think China already has one on the streets, all right? A RoboCop on the streets that patrols with the actual men, all right? So what more? And they show you the dogs and stuff like that. Actually, I think it's China also. Is it China or Taiwan? One of those places. China, I believe it is, or Korea. One of those places, anyways. Where they actually call them wolves, all right? And they send them out in packs. So you have the robot dogs, you got robot wolves. These things can be fitted and kitted with assault rifles, rocket launchers, flamethrowers, They probably have other equipment on it, like different sensor systems and, maybe infrared or heat or vision or something like whatever. All right, who knows? And these things are going to be sent out, all right, to patrol. Now, overall, yeah, it's going to be for all these Babylonians, okay, especially those that are rising up against the system. But they most definitely, all right, want to go after you Israelites, man. Okay, because you're their main, in their eyes, you're their main problem. So they're not going to have a problem sending robots out in the streets, robot dogs out in the streets, drones over your neighborhoods, troops in your neighborhoods, all right, lockdowns and things of that nature. Says a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. See, Jake ain't gonna wake up until he actually get the business. But for right now, it's just fun and folly. But with that being read, I'm gonna actually stop right here, and we're gonna play the clips, those two clips that we were mentioning, and then we'll get into the final thing. All right, so here's the last thing we're gonna talk about here, the big major thing. All right, major thing's gonna bring a major shakeup. All right, in these latter days to come. And I was just using, the clip, with Jake. All right, to just to transition, about the, speaking point about the 2/3, which that was more so younger generation, but still in overall, just speak about the 2/3. All right, and so this last clip we have here, transition, making that, from that transition from that video, to the robots and things, all right, to that great persecution, and now to the final thing here, because as I said before, hey, Jay's gonna get rounded up. It says, let me give something real quick. 1 Thessalonians 5. Yeah, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. All right, when all hell breaks, because terrible things are already happening. Many judgments are going out. All right, we've often on and off have been talking about what the famine is coming. That's going to be very, very major, which really ties in also to this final thing that we're talking about, lack of bread and food. Okay, people not being able to eat. People resorted to cannibalism. Okay, that's a major thing that we've been talking about a lot off and on. Okay, Spirit just had me constantly going into the famine, but it's a very serious thing that's about to come upon the earth. And the scripture says it's better to die by the sword than by famine, because these pine away strictly through for wants of the fruits of the field. Starvation, which is a slow death, quicker than being a gunshot to the head, or being beat to death or stabbed or whatever. Those things may be painful, but it's a quick death. All right, hunger is a slow death. Thirst is a slow death. But anyways, so the time where all hell is going to break loose, leading up to the final destruction of Babylon the Great, for those that live in Babylon the Great. All right, it says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as shall fell upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. All right, so the things seem normal. Okay, it says, but ye brethren are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are all children of the light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Yet the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai has allowed us to hear this truth and understand it. All right, that's the important thing. It says, blessed is he that readeth in Revelation 1. But read it really goes into, when you go into that word, is to comprehend, actually understand what you're reading. Because you can read like the history, that's just history. But there's certain things that are prophetic, certain things that are dark sayings that has to be given unto you, all right, through the Spirit, and then the teacher has to teach you, so you can understand clearly what it's saying there. So blessed is he that read it, that understand it. And we have been given the gift to understand these things, which is a blessing in these latter days. So therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. And that's what we're doing, watching, to the best of our ability for different things, events, prophecies, and things of that nature. All right, even though we do, get into a couple other things on the side as well, but we're mostly looking for these prophecies to come to pass. But I want to go back up to this particular verse here. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, like a pregnant woman. Okay, and they shall not escape. I'm gonna read this in pieces we're here. While they are saying peace and safety, all is well and secure, then in a moment unforeseen destruction will come upon them suddenly, like labor pains on a woman with child, and they will absolutely not escape, for there will be no way to escape the judgment of the Lord. See that? And so going back to, our final transition here, okay, you have a lot of especially these neighborhood quiches, all right, ghetto, loud mouth, sorry parenting, don't care about nothing, okay. They're gonna definitely, because if they went crazy over the what was it, No Snap November, all right, that was just a test, because they ultimately ended up getting, all right, their SNAP benefits, but it was data collection for Esau. I wonder what happens if I do this, if I push this button, all right. And so he does this, what he does over and over and over, all right, trial and error, all right, data collection, all right, problem, reaction, solution. He's collecting data so he can know how far he can or cannot push, because whatever, if he can't push, he's going to find out how he can push. But if the thing works, well, he's going to tweak it even more to make it even worse on the people. That's all he's doing, data collection, because he wants to rule this world, but he's going to do it in wickedness. All right, but getting to the point, okay, you're going to have a lot of those people like that who are going to love to go into taking the tiny machine, all right, the mandatory implementation of the RFID micro CHIP, aka the tiny machine, that will give these devils, the bankers, full autonomy over every aspect of your life from some remote location, because they themselves won't be taking it. It's for the masses, even their own people. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he do good? All right, so even their own people, all right, will be slaves to this new system that's coming. All right, and you're going to have a lot of our people who are going to just love to not have to do anything and have a UBI, a universal basic income. Okay, where the government gives you funds according to your household size every month to pay your bills, and it's not going to be what people think it's going to be, because they think like, yeah, I got this money, I ain't got to pay no bills, I can do this, I can spend that, I can save that, yeah, but it's going to be certain things. It's going to be, you're going to have a limited amount of money, so it's going to be enough to pay your bills and get food in your household, but then you're not going to have the extra money like you think, because they want it where public transportation has to come through them. They want, they see they want to lock down on cars and move people to the EVs, the electric vehicles, making it hard for people to work on their regular cars, because they want to force people towards EVs, where that's more so governed by the system. Okay, some of these cars got cameras in them now, and then they have these self-driving cars like Waymo and stuff like that. So they want public transportation to be through them even, or a regular transportation to be through them even. All right, a lot of people are going to take the UBI. And then the main thing, as we was in the video, how we work it in here, I'll probably play it at the end or whatever. Social credit score system. We talked about China dozens of times, man. All right, where you have this, like you have a credit score, but now there's something known as the social credit score. Okay, where they're giving you incentives to act on this manner or not act in this manner, which is basically a way of them making you do what they want you to do, and the things that they deem as proper and upright in society, and the things that they deem not, they're pretty much threatening you not to do those things by saying they will dock your credit score. All right, the social credit score system that's already in China, that's coming to America. All right, and a big part of that would be tied into what is the ultimate thing, the CHIP, the tiny machine. All right, where just like they showed you in the Black Mirror or whatever. So if you do something that they say was a good thing, you might get a point or whatever on your credit score, and your credit score goes up. If you do something that's bad, or if you're not even doing something that's bad, but if you're doing too much of something, all right, you ate too much red meat. Speaking of red meat, they have the tick going around and make you allergic to red meat. Why? Because they're trying to, not all meat is fake, but a lot of meat gets fake 3D printed and stuff like that. Okay? They want to feed you, eat Z-bugs and you will be happy. Who said it? Yuval Harari said that. I believe it was him. Pepe Le Pew. Okay? So every step that they're doing has never been for you so-called American citizens, you Babylonians. It has all been to move a step further and a step closer to achieving their world agenda, which is everybody CHIP'd with their tiny machine. So going back to the social credit score system, as my man was talking about, and I think that video is like 2 or 3 years old, okay, but it's still, it's still relevant, because this is the time we're living in, which 3 years isn't that far back. If you're talking about like 25, 30 years ago. But anyways, social credit score system. All right, you had certain grocery stores that had it where you walk in there, you know, as he was talking about in the video, basically, where you put stuff in your cart and it rings the things up in your cart. And because, you know, you're registered with the CHIP, okay, which people already have, some people in the world already have the CHIP, by the way. All right, but anyways, you know, everything is automatically deducted out of your account because you're tied into the system. And you might say, well, what if I remove something? Well, that's what happens. It's going to register what was removed, and then it's going to put the money back into your account. So if you spent $15 on this particular item, and that's the only thing you want to remove and keep everything else, it's going to put the $15 back in your account, just like that. And you're not going to be able to check out without the CHIP. You might not even be able to get into some of these grocery stores without the CHIP. You know, Walmart got the, you know, the automatic banners that open up as you walk now. What if they have it where it's locked? And what happens if it starts to scan people for CHIPs? So the bar doesn't even open for you to get through if you don't get registered to the CHIP. And even if you do get in, if you don't have the CHIP, you're not getting out there with checked out items. So people are going to be forced to steal. They're going to kill, delete or whatever. Cannibalism. These are all things mentioned in the scriptures in Esdras. Okay, things that are going to take place. They're going to search the houses with the sword and so on and so forth. So all these things are going to take place in Jacob's trouble. All right, because people are unsuspecting about the events to come. So let's read this real quick. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. The tiny machine, man. All right. And also, you know, you got the brain ones. All right, Neuralink, Synchron, you know, other companies. China had their companies that came and actually jumped over, all right, Elon Musk and his company. But I mean, China's way more advanced than Babylon the Great, anyways. So, what's to expect? All right, a lot of this robot stuff you keep hearing about comes from China. All right, they got the boxing robots and all this kind of stuff, fighting robots, kung fu robots, a robot that became a monk, all kinds of madness, man. All right, but these things are happening. Robot dogs, robot wolf dogs, or these things are happening. But going back to it, it says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that have the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Those that don't have the tiny machine won't be able to operate in society. That's why knowing what the scriptures say and trusting in the Lord is so important. Your faith. All right, because it said, the scriptures say that my servants shall eat, but they shall be hungry. But if you don't believe that, okay, and if you're not only that, if you don't believe, but also if you're not paying attention to what the prophets are saying, you're not going to know about these things. So when the time comes and all that pressure is put up on the planet, you're right, you might be one of the ones that fold, because the 2/3 are definitely going to fold. All right, the 2/3 are definitely going to fold. Okay, so we just want to, you know, keep the faith and keep pushing, you know, hold on. All right, because we're in the end, and times are going to get super duper rough. But for the 2/3 of our people, they're already through. Okay, that degenerate plant, they're already through, and they're gonna check right in with the system. All right, the tiny machine, social credit score system, UBI, all these things are going to sound good to them because they're going to be looking for a way out from all the chaos that's going to be happening all over the globe in the time period known as what? Jacob's trouble. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 603.6. Yeah, that's 666. All right, attached to Esau at the hip, and that same 666 will be in his universal product code that is on the CHIPs that he wants to put inside you people. All right, so yeah, so that's pretty much it there. All right, just a couple, you know, small topics there I want to get into. You know, making the transition from each one. All right, you got Jake, you know, giving Esau reason, all right, to more reason, I should say, to want to persecute them and bring, you know, whatever he's going to bring upon them. But that's all judgment from the Lord. He's just going to use the left-hand side. All right, and it says that in Romans. All right, if you're not, you know, something about, you know, the law. All right, if you're not, you know, if you're not doing anything wrong, you know, the law is not really against you. Not saying those exact words. Can't remember exactly how it's worded, but they're doing what? They're causing havoc, breaking laws and stuff. So of course Esau is going to come down upon him. He's the sword of the Lord, and that sword is not in vain. All right, he bears not the sword in vain. So yeah, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua is going to use Esau to really persecute 2/3, especially this young wild generation. All right, a bunch of degenerates, and a lot of those things are going to come upon them from, you know, certain afflictions and, judgments that'll go out, through the earth, from the Lord by all different types of forms of judgment. But some of those things are actually going to come by, persecution. The robots and the drones, and the troops and other things of that nature. All right. Some of them are going to get sent to war probably, or just put to death, beheaded. All right. And then you're going to have that group who are just going to fold. They're going to buckle under all the pressure and all the chaos and everything that's going on. And it's just going to take the seal because they're going to be looking for a way out. For what? For it to go back to normal. But there is no back to normal. All right. The new normal will be chaos. And what comes after that is important. That's the kingdom of heaven. So I'm pretty much leave it at that. A little willing you edify to next thing. That's what I'm going to say. Shalom.
Here's what the future is going to be like. You walk into the store with these 15-minute cities, these smart cities. You walk into the clothing store and you go, ooh, this shirt looks good. There's no tag on it. You put it in your basket. Oh, I need a pair of socks. I need some underwear. You throw it in your basket. No tags on any of it. You walk out. You check your app. You've been deducted, $326 because of, the inflation, right? Your t-shirts are going to be expensive. Mm-hmm. But where does that money come from? What does that money mean? It's all going to be a social credit score. Yeah. As we're moving into the AI world, automation, the calls for UBI and all this stuff, how will you get money to be able to go in and grab those clothes? You're going to be a good model citizen. You're going to be high social credit score. And then if you have a high social credit score, they're going to say, you've got an extra $2,000 allotted to you this month for having a score over 800. Mm-hmm. And then you can walk in, take whatever you want. You walk into the McDonald's or whatever, and you just press cheeseburger, and then just boom, pops right up for you, and you don't even got to transact anything. It's all tracking you. It's looking at your eyes, looking at your face. The machine is watching you everywhere you go.